welcome to my channel. My name is Jazzy RN. I've been a utilization review nurse for over 9 years, and I have worked for 3 different companies. I wanted to give you a little bit of background about me before I became a remote nurse. I did have only 2 years experience at the bedside. My first year, and I believe it was 8 months, was at a LTAC, long-term acute care facility. Most of my patients were in comas. They were on a ventilator, tube feeding, Foley, rectal tube, and lots of IV antibiotics. And then I spent my last 3 months at the bedside in med-surg, which was a little bit of everything. So the goal of my channel is to help nurses pivot from the bedside to remote work. And today's video is about 3 different jobs I found that were outside the United States but are remote jobs. Before I get into those jobs, I do want to mention I have a link in the description box below, and it is a link of over 70 countries that hires nurses to work remotely. This is mostly nurses in the United States. Some of these companies do hire nurses in the Philippines, and that basically means they live in the Philippines but work for U.S. companies, and sometimes the Philippine nurses have something called a U.S. RN. So they pass the NCLEX and they receive their U.S. RN licensure, but they live in the Philippines. And also there are some companies here that hire nurses in Australia and Canada, maybe 2 or 3 more different countries. And I did also want to mention there is a company by the name of Lensa. They do post lots of jobs on LinkedIn if you are using your job search on LinkedIn. Whenever you see a Lensa job, you don't want to apply directly. Just make sure you'll see it here. Make sure you look for the name of the company on the job posting and apply directly to the employer instead. Also, a couple more things. If you were to scroll to the very bottom of this page, you will see a link to my Udemy course. It's called Remote Nursing, the Cure to Bedside Burnout, as well as a list of office essentials. And at the very bottom, there's a list, FAQs, of 20 or more questions and answers about working remotely. Now, even though I work remotely as a U.S. nurse, this also may apply for nurses in other countries as well. And regarding the list of equipment for working remotely, I highly recommend you get the memory foam cushion seat cushion. This is actually the exact same desk I have. I do recommend if you do get a desk that its frame is metal. You can't really see in this picture, but this desk here is a metal frame. I have bought a desk that was all wood, the pressed wood, and I ended up moving and the desk fell apart during the move. Also, don't spend a lot of money on buying a chair. If you get, it's a regular chair. This is exactly the exact chair that I have at home. But if you get a really good memory foam seat cushion, no matter what chair you sit in, you should have no problems with sitting down 8 hours straight. And there's also these desks you can buy that go up and down if you were to press a button. I don't have that, but this desk that I have now, it is as a metal frame, so that whenever I'm moving, it doesn't actually break down. You also want to make sure to get a desk chair for the floor or carpet. If you do end up getting a desk chair that has the wheels, you don't want to wheel around on your carpeting or bare floors. I also want to mention, if I scroll down some more, these portable monitors, they are pricey. This is if you're, let's say, evacuating or traveling while you work remotely. They are, I think the prices start at $350. I believe mine was $350 when I bought it a couple of years ago. But to save yourself some money, what you can do instead is buy a USB-C to HDMI cable. As you can see right here, this USB-C part, you go plug it into your laptop, and the HDMI cable part, you plug it into your TV, and you can use any kind of TV as a secondary monitor. So if you actually have a Fire Stick, this part right here would be the same place you would insert your TV, the same thing with your Fire Stick. But just make sure that your cord that you do buy, you want it to be at least maybe 6 feet or more, because you don't want to be sitting close to a very large screen TV trying to work. And there are some more items here as well that you can purchase. This uninterrupted power supply source is really helpful if you live in an area that has a lot of power outages. I used to live in Texas, and the power outages were very frequent for some reason. So one side of this surge protector is battery powered as well as surge protection, and the other side is only surge protection. It's very heavy, but let's say if your power does go out, it gives you a couple of minutes, maybe 20 minutes or more, depending on how many devices are plugged up into this side that's battery powered. It will give you time to let's say maybe log off your computer or let your manager know that you'll be logging off because your power went down. Now, I can't determine how much time you'll have until the power on this device runs out, because it depends on how many devices that are plugged up onto the power backup side. So on to the remote nursing jobs. This first job is with HSE West Northwest. This is in Ireland. It was posted 4 days ago, and only 3 persons clicked apply. This is a remote and part-time job. It says it's a clinical nurse specialist, candidate, general neurology with a special interest in multiple sclerosis, neurology department. Now, as always, the first thing I look at is the qualifications for the job. Now, this job has a very, very small post. The information on here is very minimal. So once you basically have the responsibility to develop or expand services in this legal, I think that's how you say it, university hospital in conjunction with the neurologists, provide expertise and specialist nursing services to patients presenting with neurological conditions and to their families, both in the inpatient and outpatient setting, to ensure that patients diagnosed with neurological condition receive timely and appropriate care through assessment, planning, implementation, and evaluation to care delivery. So I'm not going to read all this, but this is actually an option for you if you are interested in a remote position with the company HSE West Northwest in Ireland. Here is the email address. I believe this is either maybe the hiring manager. She doesn't actually say what her title is, but this is very rare to see the hiring manager actually place their email address on a job posting. And this is for Ireland. The next job is with the company James Lind Care. This is for the country Germany, and it was posted 3 weeks ago, and so far only 67 applicants applied. It is remote and in part-time. This is a home-based research nurse, or CRA, for patient-centric clinical trial services in Germany. Now, as always, I always look at the qualifications first for the job, and looks like this one has a candidate profile. They want you to be professionally trained and experienced research nurse, or CRA, strong patient communication skills and motivation to be the patient's guide to clinical trials, strong collaboration skills, independent, self-reliant, and positive mindset, and English proficiency at intermediate level or higher. So it's very interesting how this job was posted for nurses in Germany, and it's all in English. So I'm guessing they want you to make sure you have a high English proficiency. And this is with James Lind Care, and this is for the country in Germany. And this one also has an email address provided as well for, I guess maybe this is the hiring manager, and another email address here as well if you have any questions, which is very nice. This is not common in the United States where they have the email addresses provided. And last but not least, this company is called Med Virtual. They're looking for a medical nurse. This is in Latin America, and was reposted 4 days ago with over 100 applicants. And this job is also remote and full-time. And as always, I go straight to the qualifications. They want you to be a licensed nurse or in our equivalent locally or in the United States. I'm not sure how they say in the United States when you actually are looking for someone in Latin America. But moving on, they say that no, candidates should not present themselves as U.S. licensed if not officially licensed in the U.S. They want you to have a minimum of 2 years of clinical experience. That's hospital bedside or outpatient setting preferred. A minimum of 1 year remote work experience with a U.S.-based healthcare company, or 1 year or more of U.S. healthcare experience with a U.S. nursing degree. And they want you to have strong understanding of medical terminology and clinical workflows. Proficiency with U.S. EMR systems, and EMR is electronic medical record system, so that's Cerner, Epic, Protouch, etc. Knowledge of HIPAA compliance, which is basically everywhere whenever you are working for an American company, a United States company, as some kind of professional in healthcare. They want you to comply to their HIPAA compliance laws. I believe this only exists in the United States. And front back office knowledge preferred but not required. And this job also requires you to have particular system requirements or your own equipment. So they want you to have the 25 megabits per second internet service with a reliable backup connection. So this is a secondary internet service they want you to have just in case the primary service fails. And for your computer, they want you to have an Intel Core i5 7th generation or higher. Now, all these requirements, I am most certain that the company that will hire you will actually run tests on your laptop or computer to confirm that your devices meet all these requirements regarding the memory, the processor, the storage, webcam, operating system. Now the noise canceling headset or earphones, those will be external. They don't want you to use the microphone from the computer or laptop. They want you to have an external earphones, which will look something like this. This is what I have for my job. And some earphones have the earphone on both sides, some have it just on one side. And then you will also have a quiet and organized, distraction-free workplace within your home. And as always, whenever you are granted an interview for any of these jobs, you want to look at the responsibilities to base your questions in the interview based on these responsibilities. So remote patient monitoring, are you monitoring EKGs? Are you monitoring the person visually? How are you monitoring the patient? Triage and medication reminders, is this something that's done by phone call? Are you sending any kind of messaging via phone or email reminders? Medical chart review and auditing. Is there a checklist for this? Are you following a template? Prescription refills and health monitoring. Are you actually getting notifications of the patient refilling their prescriptions? Are you getting notifications of, let's say, their heart rates or their blood pressure being measured? Are they actually entering into a system to give you an update of what's going on? Lab ordering and result coordination, so on and so forth. And just make sure whenever you are creating your resume for each job, you want to make sure your resume focuses on what you did, why it's important, and how it relates to the job that you want.